Welcome to Eye on the Bay. I'm Brian Hackney, and go ahead, pick a town, any town, from point A to point B, because that's what we're going to do in this edition of Eye on the Bay. Our ace producers have clipped every little tiny town in the Bay Area and big towns, and some towns that don't exist. More than 150 little locations. And just to prove that on any given weekend, you can have a great adventure going from almost any point A to point B in the Bay Area, we're gonna have an adventure of our own, even though we don't know what we're going to pick. And we're not gonna fake it either. We're gonna be doing this between 2 points that could be as close as 2 miles or 50 miles apart, maybe even more. The goal of our new at-random travel experiment is simple. We want to meet the people, taste the food, and give you a geography lesson. Who knows? And we'll shoot all of this in one business day. That is, of course, if my favorite co-host is up to it, my 1964 red MGB. And helping me out in this is our executive producer brain trust, James Reed. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we have waited for this. You pick point A. Okay, where are we gonna start? Schellville.
Schellville.
Where is it?
That's
Schellville.
great.
Where is it?
I'll show you on a map.
Schellville.
It's in the North Bay.
We're gonna start from Schellville.
It's a great little old town.
Ladies and gentlemen, point A, Schellville. Now, point B.
Shake it up really well.
150 little towns in the Bay Area.
Will it be
we're gonna
Schellville to
going
Schellville?
From Schellville to Freestone. Where's Freestone?
Oh, that's great.
Where's Freestone?
This is going to be a North Bay.
I've lived here
It'll be a
for-
North Bay excursion. Freestone's near Sebastopol. It's a great little town. It's like small town A to B.
Have you ever heard of Freestone?
I have.
First thing we need, a map. We should tell you that right now it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the day before we're taking off on this journey, so we have less than 16 hours to get this together. I think I opt for actually not going the most direct way. Here's the route we chose. From Schellville, which is a few miles south of Sonoma, we'll proceed west into Petaluma, and we'll head out Petaluma's charming D Street and into the farm-laden countryside until we reach the town of Marshall on Tamales Bay. Then it's up Highway 1 through Tamales, Valley Ford, Bodega, and then finally, point B, Freestone. And so, magically, we begin here at Schellville on the Carneros Highway. Very busy, but that's about the only thing that's busy about Schellville. I mean, there's only a few buildings left. The old train depot, the old train. Cattle and hay and fruit from Weinberg would all be shipped out of here. When was the last train out of Schellville? Apparently 9 days after 9/11, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, according to the handwritten note that's scribbled on the door. Founded in 1888, this unincorporated community of vineyards and farmland is actually pretty big in size. It stretches as far south as Infineon Raceway off Highway 37 up to the 12112 Carneros Highway. Of course, along the way, we hope to meet some people who know something about the history of the little places that we stop at. And for Schellville, we'll talk to a guy who knows the history because he has lived the history. I mean, he's been here his whole life. Can you show us around a little bit? I mean, is there...
Which way do you want to go?
Well, I don't know. It looks like there's nothing but cow. 1,000 dairy cows a day, and that equates to some 9,000 gallons, are milked on Mitch Mulis's family farm, a farm his parents built from the ground up in 1936.
Well, let's put it this way. Brother and I walked to a little one-room school down here. We walked on the road, and if you saw 2 cars, you were lucky. You were lucky.
Is there a downtown Schellville, or not?
Downtown Schellville was the railroad depot.
And that's gone.
Well, it's dead. The railroad is dead.
While some might have called Schellville a sleepy town then and now, sleepy is not a word you would associate with Mr. Mulis. At 79, this community pillar has served on the County Farm Bureau, California Beef Board, School District Board, and he's been with the Volunteer Fire Department for nearly 50 years. He's also the chief.
I've been there for, since 68 as chief.
Good heavens. I've got to get the scent of bovine off of my hands, if you don't mind. Mr. Mulis, we sure appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to go We're gonna go see a cow in a slightly different form now. Also in Schellville, something that foreshadows something we'll see later in the trip. Starts third time every time. Off for a burger at Babe's. Interesting thing about Babe's, it's the last roadside diner left in Schellville. I'm Brian.
Oh, I've known you for years. And you look a lot younger in person than on TV.
Oh, you're looking at Liam. That's the other guy.
No, I know who Lim is.
Mr. Mullis tipped us off to the 23-year-old Babe's, home to a killer burger and run by Mom Pearl and daughter Joanne.
That's 2/3 of a pound.
Wow. Who was Babe?
My dad.
Babe was your dad.
Yeah, he died 5 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, this was his dream.
Yeah.
So then we got stuck doing all the work.
Yeah.
It was his dream, but our work.
Please do not tamper with the cook's buns. When I told Joanne that we were headed to Freestone, it was no surprise that she said, Freestone?
Well, I have to make sure I watch so I know where it is.
That'd be a good idea. In this car, you're about the size of a gnat compared to the SUVs that we're all driving these days. On we go. This is something I have always wanted to do. I've driven by this 1,000 times. A vintage aircraft tour of the wine country. How's that for a point A to B stop? Even matches the car.
It's a World War II primary trainer. So this airplane taught all the fighter pilots for World War II.
As the sign says, walk-ins are welcome for these open cockpit biplane rides. There is no turning that sign down. So I guess we literally climb aboard. Wow, this is great! Look at this. Vintage aircraft's 20-minute rides run $175, a little bit extra for barrel rolls, and it's worth every penny. You lift off and you think it's an old plane, it's going to be clunky and bumpy. It is as smooth as a feather. And the thought that is foremost in your mind is that you have got Sonoma Valley laid out before you like a patchwork quilt, but the overriding thought is, I'm on a biplane. I am on a biplane. It is so cool. And then, a few minutes into the flight, you realize you can no longer feel your face muscles because you have had this 1,100 megawatt grin plastered on your face for 10 solid minutes. That was just exhilarating, Dan. And I gotta tell you, it's one of the highlights of my year.
Oh,
that
good.
was great.
Good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And now for a really random stop. Here we are, Petaluma, beautiful residential neighborhood, and you know what this is? It's our boss, James Reed's childhood home. And what's he doing? He's harassing the woman who lives here now. Was it exciting?
It was exciting.
Was it a trip down memory lane?
It was a trip down memory lane because she showed me the bathroom where I kissed Kelly McGowan in the
No.
first grade, and the bathroom's not there anymore.
You kissed a girl in the first grade?
Yeah, you know, Kelly was in the third grade.
And after that little trip down memory lane, we cross the D Street Bridge, and we end up in downtown Petaluma, which is also the omelet capital of the world. It's also known for its beautiful, what do you want to call it, mansion district?
I think D Street in Petaluma is one of those streets that you really don't find in the Bay Area. They look like they're out of the South, some of them.
The houses are beautiful, obviously expensive, but you always had to be well off in order to afford something like that. The man who built this house on D Street literally struck gold in the 1850s, and he built this house for his family of 10 children. We found that out because we just chatted with the lady who lives in it now. She's off to take the dogs for a walk. The old antique weather vane at the top of the turret should have been taken down and melted for steel during World War II. But the family who lived here then took it off, hid it in the basement, and then when it was safe, put it back up in the 50s. And there it proudly waves to this day. And so we head out of Dodge, into the country, inching our way toward Point B, And it was on this rural stretch where we found a 19th century building that you'll have to see to believe. That's next. Welcome back to Eye on the Bay, on to Freestone. Freestone, that's our destination, point B, if you will. If you've just joined us, we're randomly celebrating the people and places between two towns we just picked out of a bucket. We just left point A in Schellville, where we flew in a biplane and checked out Petaluma's charming Mansion District. Next, we just continue on down D Street, out of Petaluma, and we head west, young man, toward Marshall. It's some lovely countryside. Oh my God, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? That's the other great thing about taking these old roads, is that you run across things like this. Look at that, old school. Union District School, built in 1895. It's a one-room schoolhouse. They've got 9 students, kindergarten through 6th grade. Cynthia Hayden was kind enough to let us quickly pop in. As you might imagine, in a one-room school, she is not just the teacher.
Teacher, principal. I'm secretary, custodian.
Oh, you have to do it all.
Kids throw it up. I do everything. So I'm everything. Some of these children are 4th generation children. And then we have some.
You mean their great-grandfathers?
Yes, I do. Wow. Yes. We put the flag up every day and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you want, we can ring the bell and you can hear it. It's a great sounding bell.
Don't ask us twice. That is just the best. 3 miles down, we pass another one-roomer, the oldest continuously running school in the state. I have to say, the route we chose couldn't have been more perfect. Small towns, beautiful scenery, and these country roads, and they were fun to drive. You know where you arrived? Well, we've been heading west, and you can only go so far west when you're in California before you hit this, Tamales Bay, which was formed because of the San Andreas Fault, of course. In fact, some of the biggest breaks in the 1906 earthquake happened at the bottom of that bay. So you can come here for the geology. What's so funny? I can't do this without doing a geology lesson, for crying out loud. Okay, so let's see, what was I saying? What was I saying? You come here for the views. You come here for the peace. You come here for the oysters. Because that's what Marshall, the population 50 former dairy town, is known for. We spotted and popped into the Marshall store, which serves up to a few thousand shelled delicacies a day. You gotta try the oysters Rockefeller. And who could pass up these views? Not to mention roadside service. Oh my God, Tyler, we'll be eating like kings. That looks great. Do you ever get used to this? This is just beautiful.
It's a pretty nice office.
Not bad for a random trip picked out of a hat, huh? A to B. A to B. And while we're off, we're not done with Marshall. We met a friendly fellow at the Marshall store who invited us to his house, and there's a good reason you'll need to have his number. And then we make our way to Point B, where I battle some birds and slip into a sweaty coma of sorts. That after a break. Welcome back to Eye on the Bay and our absolute blast of a one-day journey between 2 Bay Area towns, Schellville and Freestone. Before we race to Point B, we had to make one more stop in Marshall. While we were at the Marshall store, we just happened to run into a fellow who gave us an idea about a place to stay, and the fellow's name is
Rich Clark.
And you have
Ravensview Cottage.
Wow. This looks great.
Well, thanks, yeah.
Did you build this yourself?
Yeah, we did. Well, a group of us, yeah.
Good. And you rent this out?
We rent it out during the week, on the weekends.
Rich and his wife moved here from Berkeley and renovated this former chicken coop. It's now a lovely loft retreat, complete with hot tub overlooking Tamales Bay. Wow. Do you ever get used to that view?
No, it's one of those things that's magical.
If we had to stay here tonight,
Yeah.
how much would a room be?
During the week, it's $215. On the weekends, it's $265, unless you're a teacher, and then we give a break to teachers.
This is Tiny, believe it or not, and Tiny comes with the room and with face slobber. Thank you, Tiny. Whew. On to Freestone. Okay, now we're running late. We actually made a reservation for something spectacular in Freestone, so we're heading up Highway 1. But we're literally going to make a quick appearance in 3 more towns. And now we arrive in Tamales. Tamales is a town of about 200 people or so. The amazing thing is that back in the railroad era, there were 2,000 people here then. But in 1906, the earthquake took a lot of the town down. It's not far from the epicenter of the 1906 quake. And what the quake left behind? A fire in 1920 leveled. And then we arrive at Valley Forge. Wait a minute. Valley Ford. This was a happening railroad town in the 19th century. Today, it's got antique stores, it's got swanky restaurants like the one just across the street. It's got a general store. And it also shows movies. The movie that just happens to be playing tonight, Rear Window. Isn't it weird how Hitchcock keeps popping up? Remember the birds when we started the trip up in Schellville? But the birds were shot near here. That's Tippi Hedren. And in the spring and summer of 1962, she had a little problem with the birds. Hitchcock shot a lot of that film, as you know, in Bodega Bay. But here, in Bodega, 7 miles northeast of Bodega Bay, he shot a few classic scenes. The Bodega Bay School is one of the few buildings that still survives from the time when Hitchcock shot this 45 years ago. So you can see it for yourself on your own journey from A to B, which we've got to finish because we're running out of sun. Freestone is only a few miles east now, and it's what my producers say is one of the most picturesque towns around. And I've got a date with a vat of hot wood chips there. Don't go anywhere. And finally, more than 40 miles since we left Point A, we arrive at Point B, the town that I had never heard of before, Freestone. And it is cute. I mean, right across the street is one of the most famous bakeries that we've heard about out here, Wildflower Bread. But be sure you get here on or close to the weekends. They're only open Friday through Monday during the daytime. But this is Sonoma County's first historic district. The Russians settled here in the early 1800s growing wheat. The Pomo Indians had called it home for thousands of years. Today it is a quaint, tiny little town with an antique general store that's still open for business and some nice shops.
Santa Rosa, 18 miles away, people still don't know where Freestone is. People go, Fremont?
How come it didn't explode with people like everything else in California? It remained a fairly sleepy community.
It certainly has.
You had 10,000 people, 19 saloons. How many people live here today?
There's 26 households on the water system.
No. But since this is right off the Bohemian Highway, we figured we would be Bohemian ourselves at osmosis. My producers have been here before to what's become a world-renowned, out-of-this-world spa. And from what they've told me, I think it's a perfect way to wrap up this incredible day.
You know, when people come to spas, they think they want to check out, but they really want to check in. And that's what this is about. 2 words I would say that really do the job: tranquility and renewal.
Osmosis founder Michael Stusser says up to 1,500 people a year visit for a 3-step treatment. It starts with a renewing tea in the meditation garden, and it ends with a massage, facial, or blanket wrap. But in between...
The cedar enzyme bath is a one-of-a-kind spa treatment in this country. I learned about it in Japan. It's very unique because the heat is generated through fermentation.
Thank you. Oh my God. It looks like a stable for a horse or something. What is this stuff?
This is a sawdust, which is composed of white cedar and Douglas fir and rice bran. So your pores are getting open, your muscles are relaxing,
and you've done this?
Yes, I love it. Yes.
And it's amazing because Rebecca's actually 56 years old. Look at her, she looks like she's 19. I'm just kidding, pulling it like. Rebecca was kind enough to dig this tired A to B driver a cozy, deep hole. You know what's amazing, Rebecca? When this show began, I had no idea where Freestone was. I had kind of vaguely heard about it, but what a trip we had. I mean, think about it. Started out by getting licked by cows this morning, having great oysters, and now being piled high with hot sawdust. And we just did it at random by going from point A to point B. And I think we're on to something here. We're going to do this again. And I'll have somebody in the passenger seat next time. Maybe Robin Williams, maybe my mom. Want to take any bets? In the meantime, if you want any info about what we've done today, log onto our website, cbs5.com/Eye on the Bay. In the meantime, I'm going to bake quietly. We'll see you tomorrow night. More sawdust, Rebecca. Thank you.
You got it.